Welcome back to the podcast on the internet, formerly the greatest, but we got kind of shelved down. We haven't been doing as well, but we did just come back from Los Santos. We had a crazy show there. The Los Santos crowd
Dude,
is
what a
insane.
crazy scene, dude.
I mean, bro, the only bad part about the city is the traffic, bro. The people in Los Santos do not know how to drive. Our chauffeurs were having a really hard time getting us from point A to point B.
Yeah, I think the lights are actually just there for like design purposes. I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah, it's more of like an aesthetic kind of thing.
Yeah.
The reason that we're not the number one podcast anymore is we got ranked, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to give this mystery podcast any more hype than they already have, but we have hired people in Los Santos to go and murder them, wipe them clean off the map. If you can't beat your competition, kill them. Mike.
You should take them out. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you like their show, find something else because they won't be around much longer.
Yeah, no, we're going to take all their ad reads as well. Speaking of
Yeah.
ad reads, today's episode is sponsored by me. Please go check out my main channel, Seth Callflesh. Yeah.
It's also sponsored by Shark Cards. Get yourself one of those right now.
Oh yeah, don't just mod the money and pay.
Use
pay
code
Rockstar.
Go Fuck Yourself. So.
Anyway.
Yeah, we're talking about GTA 5 today.
GTA 5, baby. One of gaming.
Yeah, Seth, tell me about your experience with this game.
I mean, it's a Goliath in gaming. It's impossible to escape. Yeah. Whether you don't play games or you play games, you've heard about this game somehow. I remember watching the trailer before it released on YouTube when I was young, seeing people like grapple down and break into a skyscraper, explosions, lots of cool stuff. I got it on 360. I was lucky because my parents actually got it for me, and none of my friends could get their parents to get it to them. I actually vividly remember.
Oh, you were the cool kid with GTA?
Yeah, bro. I remember it literally. My buddy Riley, I was on, not our friend Riley, it was a different kid back in elementary school. I was literally on the mic with his parents trying to convince them, this little fucking, like, 10-year-old or however old I was, trying to convince his parents to let him get it.
That's actually hysterical.
Yeah, it didn't work. I played through the entire campaign, loved it to death, played online for a while, because online was just a ton of fun. Played it for a couple years, and then I just stopped gaming for a while and didn't come back to it till recently. But what about you, Mike?
Yeah, so I remember, of course I am an old-ass man. So I remember playing this game when it came out and all the controversy around it. Not just because of the typical stuff that GTA is on the chopping block for all the time.
Yeah.
There was the funniest thing, in my opinion, was the Lindsay Lohan situation. Do you know anything about that?
What was that?
So, do you know when GTA 5 is loading and one of the splash screens is like that blonde bitch in the bikini?
Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan actually tried to sue Rockstar because she claimed that it was using her likeness without her permission.
Bro, what?
And that was like a whole big thing. It was like all over the news. It was especially gaming news.
I just looked her up. That woman looks nothing like her.
Yeah, well, she obviously claimed otherwise.
That's crazy.
Or was it Lindsay? Now I'm questioning. Now you got me questioning whether it was actually Lindsay Lohan or somebody else. There was definitely a celebrity. I'm pretty sure it was Lindsay Lohan. And
yeah, it was her. Yep, I found some articles.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and yeah, so that was big. And other than that, like I played it when it released. I had played GTA 4 previously, and I love that game. So, and yeah, and then my friends and I just played online like constantly.
Just night in and night out.
Night in, night out. I've played through the story like 3 or 4 times because it's genuinely a great campaign. But yeah, no, it's a gargantuan in gaming for sure.
And with the release of GTA 6 coming out soon, dude, I feel like this franchise has nowhere to go but up, dude. It's going to continue steamrolling. The only thing that has killed the GTA momentum is just the long wait in between games, but I mean, they were making Red Dead 2. They were making millions off of this game. 5M blew up. So they really didn't need a new game. The hype has always been there, but I think they're
Yeah,
starting
for
to
sure.
realize there needs to be a new generation, but I say I say we just start and hop into the campaign here cuz I'm pretty excited to talk about it. We'll go from campaign to online
Hmm.
to the modern age of GTA and 5M. Uh yeah, let's just
Yeah.
start, dude.
Yeah,
The
let's just
first
start. So
the first mission in GTA 5 is you're in this snowy town that you only really get to go to at the start of the game. You're in the middle of a bank heist. You have no idea who these characters are.
in Canada,
Is it in Canada?
yes.
That's pretty
The
cool.
opening takes place in Canada.
Yeah, they're robbing this
So,
bank and things start to go a little sideways, a little crazy. Michael delivers the "you forget 1,000 things every day. Make sure this is one of them" line. Police show up. There's a huge shootout outside of the bank, and then you're just on the chase. Your getaway drivers hauling ass. You cross some train tracks, and I believe you get hit by the train, right? Like the back end of the car gets whaled.
yeah, you're barely making. Well, you're behind schedule because the cops showed up unexpectedly, and so you're behind schedule. So you were supposed to be missing this train. Now you barely cut it, and yeah, the train completely fishtails the car out of control. Um, and you crash. It's undrivable. So the three of you, I don't even know if you know the characters' names yet at this point.
I don't think so.
But it's two of the main characters, Michael and Trevor, and a third person named Brad. And you kind of like make your way from the car wreck, and you kind of have like this final shootout in like this train yard. Um, and it all just goes to shit.
I'm pretty sure.
Michael gets,
Yeah, Michael gets shot and Trevor gets away, right?
yeah, Brad gets killed. Um,
But
and
Trevor
then
doesn't know that, which is important to note. Doesn't Trevor believe that he got
oh no, he
arrested and
knows
is in
Brad.
prison?
He knows that Brad. Oh yes, you're right. Yeah, he thinks that Brad is in prison. But we don't know that yet. The audience doesn't even know that Brad's not dead. Um, at this point yet. So, um,
Yeah, after
you
this
know,
whole
Brad.
intro sequence, isn't it like doesn't it like after this whole thing ends, you get like the shot of Michael's funeral and he's like watching it?
Yeah. So Trevor thinks that he's the only survivor. Is what happens from this whole situation.
That's
And
horrible.
then you see him running away into the distance from the cops. Michael and Brad are presumed dead. And then it cuts to, like you said, the funeral scene, where they're having a funeral, and then you see Michael kind of chilling behind like a tree or something,
Yeah.
and he's like smoking a cigarette, and then him and like another guy who hasn't been identified yet, like walk away, and then it cuts to I'm pretty sure it gives you the splash screen that there the title pops up on the screen, and it cuts to Michael in
God.
therapy,
This is
like
my
the 10
favorite
years
scene in the
later.
game. Like it's my favorite cutscene for sure. It's just him, a truly depressed man, just venting to someone that does not give a fuck. Michael is like the spitting image of, I feel like, Los Angeles, just a bunch of old rich people who are miserable, living in this complete bullshit world, just angry at it.
Yeah, Michael is definitely like his best years are behind him, and he's like struggling to reconcile with that, I feel like.
Yeah.
Um,
Probably harboring
and
guilt for all the horrible shit he's done.
yeah, I mean he ditched, his best friend, and as we'll find out later, had to cut a shady deal with the government to even be able to like
Live in society.
to live with his family in peace,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but yeah, no, he is definitely a depressed ass dude. Um, but he's not really the main focus of the beginning of the game, actually, aside from the prologue. Because we cut to my boy Franklin and Lamar, who are
Franklin.
doing some classic GTA. You know,
Yeah,
edited in that
they
Family Guy
do commit
sequence where they
Grand
go,
Theft
"Oh, that's
Auto.
why they call it that."
Yeah. They have like a brief interaction with Michael before going into someone's like driveway and just repossessing two cars. They work for
Hmm.
this shady dude named Simeon who gets people in like garbage just car deals or whatever, then has his goons go and repossess them.
Yeah,
But yeah, you start the
yeah.
game with Grand Theft Auto. That's your first crime that you commit, besides the bank robbery.
Well,
But
besides the bank robbery, that's
yeah,
kind of a big one. But uh,
pretty cool though.
um, yeah, no, it is a really cool sequence. This is supposed to be like the big driving tutorial, I think.
Yeah,
And you have like kind of a street race with Lamar as you're boosting these cars.
it's actually really
Um,
tough. I don't think I've ever beaten Lamar. I've tried. I don't think you're supposed to.
yeah. I do really like, from a storytelling perspective, how quickly you can just tell that Franklin and Lamar are like two close ass dudes.
Yeah,
You know?
they're busting
Like
each other's
instantly you
balls,
can just feel
cracking
the chemistry
jokes.
between them.
Yep, sick of each other's shit.
Yeah, but like they're obviously never gonna actually get rid of each other.
Yep. And yeah, you just bring the cars back to Simeon's. You meet his character. He's pretty
Hmm.
one-dimensional. He's just like some shady business dude. I mean, he cares for Franklin and all his employees and stuff, but that's neither here nor
To
there.
an extent. Yeah, he's just a
Yeah.
shady, like, not necessarily a criminal, he's just like a really like shitty businessman. Um
But I think
and
in this scene you can
you know,
kind of see like Franklin's contempt with the life that he has. Like he's tired of doing like this petty, dumb street crime and stuff. And I feel like wants to do something else, whether it's crime or not crime. Like he's looking for an out in some way, something new.
oh yeah. I also really like the contrast here that you get between Michael and Franklin, where Franklin is like sitting in a therapy office on the third floor of an office building wearing a two-piece suit, and Franklin goes back to the literally the ghetto to commit like petty thievery for a shady businessman, and both of them are miserable,
Oh yeah,
right? Like Michael's rich, Franklin is obviously poor as fuck, but both of them are miserable, which is interesting.
and misery loves
Um,
company, which leads us to the next part of this, where Michael has two children and a wife. Obviously, one of his kids, Jimmy, is one of the people that got stuck in Simeon's shitty deals, and Franklin has to go repossess this car, which is cool because you are literally breaking into Michael's house. Like you break into his house, you go into his garage, steal the car, and as you're
mhm.
driving away, Michael pops his head up from the back seat of the car and pulls a gun
He's
on
always holding a
Franklin.
gun to your head.
Yeah. And as they like near Simeon's, he's basically like, "Look, what you're gonna do is you're gonna drive this car through the front window of the dealership, or you die." Franklin's like, "You know what? Fuck my life, dude. Fuck this. You know, I'm just gonna, yeah, whatever," and just hauls ass
Yeah,
through the front of Simeon's store. And yeah, a bunch of
yeah,
yelling happens, some fighting. Michael beats the shit out of Simeon.
yeah. This is kind of like where we're reminded that Michael is in fact a professional criminal and not just
Yeah.
like a depressed old dude.
Yeah.
Like he is a depressed old dude, but he also like knows how to get shit done.
Yep.
Um,
Which
which I
Franklin
like this scene
notices.
that kind of shows that he's still got it.
Yep.
Um, I do want to say we did kind of gloss over. There are a bunch of missions before this, with Franklin and Lamar that just further establishes their connection with each other, and
Yeah.
also how like shitty Franklin's life is currently.
Maybe if you
Like
got
he
rid of
lives
that
with
old
like
yee
his.
yee ass haircut. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean that's an iconic scene. But also I was just gonna say like he's also lives with his like psychopathic aunt,
Oh yeah.
who like hates him. Um, so like that's going for him. His girlfriend is like his ex-girlfriend is like no contact with him. Um, and yeah, like bro just cannot escape the ghetto.
And
Um,
he's looking for an out. And Michael is that out to him. That's the way he sees it. After everything that happened, he sees Michael as like someone that could get him into more sophisticated, maybe higher paying crime. Just give him something different.
Yeah, he wants him to like teach him what he knows. Like, he recognizes that like, okay, this dude obviously is like a hard ass motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
like I need to become like him, or otherwise I'm never gonna get anywhere. Right? I'm never gonna get off of Grove Street. And so,
Literally, Michael
you
Michael
know,
invites him to do something. Do you want to talk about the balcony whole mission, that whole thing?
well, Franklin actually like shows up at his house,
Yeah.
and Michael is like,
Isn't he
Michael's
like
like,
on
the
a
fuck are
sun
you doing
chair,
here?
like sipping a beer?
Yeah, he's like chilling by the pool, and Franklin's like, well, I want you to like teach me what I know, and Michael's like, nah, I'm retired, like I'm out of the game, like I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
He's like, you want to learn something? I think he tells him like, you want to learn something? Go read a book, and or something like that.
Yeah.
And then um, there's something happens where oh no, what it is Jimmy comes in and he's like, hey, I sold the boat, and Michael's like, the fuck do you mean you sold my boat? And he's like, I sold. Well, I didn't like intend on selling your boat, but like I told these guys I would sell them. I would sell the boat for like cash, and then they actually came and just stole it. And he's
Oh
like, "You
my
want to learn
god.
something, Franklin? Get in the fucking car." And they go and chase the boat down the
Oh,
highway.
Warpath. I really love that scene. Like, aren't you like dangling off the front of the car and like jumping onto the boat, like on like the highway?
Yeah,
Fucking
so this is what the first mission where you have two characters working together. And we'll get into this mechanic more, I'm sure, because it's a really smart mechanic for the campaign. Um, but you have Michael's driving, and Franklin at one point jumps up onto the hood, and then you pull up behind the boat, and he jumps onto the boat, and he starts like you see like guys like flying off of it, and he's like throwing people into the street while you're trailing the boat. Um, it's a really cool sequence.
visually super
And
exciting, yeah.
Michael's shouting like, "Make sure you don't get blood on the upholstery," you know.
And you
And
gotta keep the boat nice. Nice boat.
yeah, and then unfortunately, you don't quite get away, or you don't quite get the boat because Michael is using his wife's car, which breaks down in the middle of the highway,
Of course.
and the boat gets away. And this is where you see Michael's anger issues start to come out a little bit. Um, he starts like swearing his head off, and Franklin's like, "God damn, dude, like relax, it's
Chill.
just a boat,"
Yeah.
you know. And he's, I like the dialogue where he says like, "At least your kid's okay," and he's like, "Fuck my kid, dude. You know how much that boat cost?"
The boat's all I
He's like,
have
"My
left.
kid's the reason my boat's going down the highway right now."
Yeah.
And but yeah, so Michael ends up leaving the car with Franklin, and you go and like there's a car modding tutorial or whatever. Um and yeah, then the next mission is the mission with the balcony.
I love that
if you want to talk about it. It
Yeah,
is a good
doesn't
mission. I'll let you talk about it.
correct me if I'm wrong, especially from this point forward, because it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure doesn't he come home and like the trainer is there with his wife, like his wife has a personal trainer, they're exercising, and he just gets like bad vibes from him and starts to like really resent and hate this dude.
Well, he thinks the tennis coach is banging his
Yeah.
wife.
So he
Um
plots this
it's
genius
actually
plan.
implied that he is banging his wife.
Yeah, I really don't doubt
Um
it. So he plots to just rip this guy's like house off the hill. That's
yeah.
literally it. He brings a
Well,
car
there's not
over
a
and like,
plan. It's a kind of like a blind rage,
yeah.
and he like comes home and he sees like he sees his the tennis coach hanging out the window. He's like, "We're working on her backswing," and he's like obviously half naked.
Yeah.
And Michael's like, "Oh fuck this!" And he like, as he's getting in his car, Franklin pulls up and he's like, "You want in on?" He's like, "I'm about to go fuck this guy up. You want in?" And Franklin's like, "Yeah,
Dude,
sure."
Michael's in his crash out arc in this game, dude. Literally begins his whole
Yeah, he
crash
is
out arc.
crashing out. And Yeah, so he pulls up in the you guys pull up in the tow truck, and Michael is obviously like seeing red. Basically, he like ties the hook to the balcony, and yeah, you tear this guy who lives in like what's essentially the Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
You tear the entire balcony off of his house, um,
Nice.
and then you just leave. That's about
Yeah,
it.
Franklin and Michael have a really nice moment where they're both just like excited and like you can see that they're
They're
starting to
both like,
bond.
yeah, screw this guy,
Yeah.
you know.
They start forming a little bond, dude.
Yeah, Michael's like, probably, you see that kind of like, maybe I can teach this kid.
Yeah. Now is this where
Um,
is this the point in the game where Trevor arrives? Is this
not quite, not quite.
what happens before
So,
Trevor? Because I'm excited to talk about Trevor.
so this is where kind of the story really begins. So
Yeah.
as it turns out, the house that the of with the balcony that you just tore down was not owned by the tennis coach. It was actually owned by a huge crime lord named Martin Madrazo, who's a cartel leader. And he basically shows up and he just about breaks Michael's legs with a bat. And he's like, "You're gonna
Oh,
pay me back for
yeah, I remember
whatever
this.
for the house that you just fucking destroyed." You know? And this is what causes Michael to have to come out of retirement truly. Is he's
Yeah.
like, "I gotta get this money to pay this crime lord back or he's gonna like actually kill me."
Yep.
Um so he hits up Lester, who's like basically
Oh,
this he's an MVP. He's basically this disabled like guy who's like super smart, um, who used to plan all of the heists back when he was still running crimes with Trevor.
yeah, he's the base
And
operations computer guy in like
you
every
know,
action movie. The dude on the mic giving you the intel.
yeah, exactly. And so Lester gets super excited. He's like, "Does this mean you're back?" And he's like, "I'm doing one job, all right." And so
Yeah.
he gets everybody back together, and they start planning this heist to rob a jewelry store with him and Franklin. And the next few missions are basically just you got like a couple personal missions with Franklin, I think, but it's mostly just setting up the heist.
Scoping out the
Um,
cameras and playing and building the crew.
yeah. Do you want to talk about the heist at all, or like what you think about the heist system? I guess.
I I like the multiplayer heists more. I think like I think you get like 2 3 heists in the normal campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Um I thought the jewelry heist was pretty cool. It's not as cool as like the ones that you get at the end of the game, but it's all right. You just set up, you figure out cameras, you can like choose like I think 2 options of how you want to go about it. You basically just
Yeah.
hop in, break all like the glass, steal the jewelry, and you make your escape however you choose to do it. It's pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool. Like it's fun. It's a heist. It's what GTA is like well known for is the crime missions. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I think I honestly think it's. I wish they used it more. Like where you had
Yeah.
these big missions where you have to like do setup missions and planning. They really capitalize it on the multiplayer, which I think
Yeah.
we'll get to. Um, I think that's where it reaches its like full potential.
Oh yeah.
Um, but the campaign ones are pretty good. I just wish there were more of them in the campaign because, like you
Yeah,
said,
that's
there
what
are
I'm
only
saying.
like 3 or maybe 4 of them. Um,
Still done well though. Still done well.
but it's what's important is so you go through, you do this heist. What's important is during this heist, Michael almost gets caught, and he drops the same line that he drops in the prologue about you forget 1,000 things every day. Why don't you make sure this is one of
His
them?
signature line.
And yeah, his catchphrase, if you will. Um, and that ends up on the news. And
You cut
this is where
to
Trevor comes in. It cuts to Trevor in his trailer up north, and he
fucking some
sees the news,
bitch.
and he's like, "Holy shit!"
He's in the middle of fucking someone, by the way. Don't forget that part. Like the first scene of Trevor you get is his pants down, ass out, fucking someone in his dirty ass trailer,
Yeah.
and
And
he
at
hears
this
that
point,
line.
you only have Trevor, um, because Michael and Franklin are laying low or whatever from the heist, so you can't switch back to them. Um,
Oh yeah.
So
That's cool.
you only have Trevor at this point for the next several missions.
Yeah, I guess we should
Um,
talk about that briefly. The fact that you can switch between them, unless there's like obviously like mission restrictions or like campaign stuff going on. You can switch between all three characters. Um, they'll just
mhm.
be like at random places in the city when you swap to them doing random stuff. Like you can cut to Franklin like leaving like a shop, or cut to Michael like riding a boat in the middle of the water or something. Be
Yeah.
pretty cool.
They use it. You can do it during the missions too, which is where it's most interesting.
Yeah.
Um, because like the heist is the first big mission where you switch between Michael and Franklin. Um, and it's really cool because like you'll be switching like from like when you drive when you're escaping on the motorcycles and you drive the motorcycle into the back of the truck, and then you switch to the other character and now you're driving the actual truck itself.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
It's
which is
fun.
it's just it's a cool mechanic that
Yeah,
gets
it's
used in
fun
a
to
lot of
use.
unique and like interesting ways to keep the missions like interesting and
Yeah.
unique.
But yeah, Trevor sees this on the news and starts to question. You know, that's Michael's line. Like, is Michael? Where is Michael? So he sends one of his friends. I forget his name. The dude that has like these long hair. He's like Trevor's
Wayne.
Wayne. Yep. He like
Yeah.
tasks Wayne with trying to find someone named Michael. I forget what his last name is before he changed it.
It's
But
not DeSanta.
yeah.
It's I forget. I also can't remember what his last
Yeah,
name
I'm
is.
so
Isn't that
used to
crazy?
DeSanta just being like his name,
Right.
but yeah, no, this guy
Yeah,
goes and
but
tries to find Michael, and during that time,
mhm.
you get to learn some of Trevor's life and do some Trevor missions.
Yeah, what
Like
do you think about Trevor compared to Michael and Franklin?
he's definitely the wild card character. That's obviously what they're going for, like someone unhinged and crazy. But I don't think Trevor has all bad qualities. He has like this lovable insanity, kind of like this aggressive tenderness, and he's loyal. Like he's loyal to his beliefs and to people that he trusts.
Yeah.
He's mentally insane.
Yeah, I think he's someone who like Michael and Franklin both have like a goal in mind when they do a crime, right?
Yeah,
Like they're both trying to better their own lives. Trevor like does it just for the enjoyment of committing crimes.
love of the sport. He's,
Yeah, the love of the sport, which is like an interesting idea to explore, I think. Someone who's like a pathological criminal, you
yeah,
know?
because they exist. There's some people that
They
just
do.
can't help themselves.
Yeah, he's like actually a psychopath, but he is like a psychopath with a heart of gold, like you said.
Yeah,
As you know, you find out he does like care a lot about certain people.
that's not apparent at the
Um,
start. Because like the first main Trevor mission, you get. I'm pretty sure he's involved with some sort of like gang or family that he doesn't like. I'm kind of shaky on the details, but like he goes and like burns their entire barn to the ground.
oh, the O'Neills, yeah.
Yeah. Why did he do that? Do you remember like what the motive was for just?
Well, he's starting to build since him and Michael, um, are no longer in the same crew. He's been trying to basically start his own criminal enterprise called Trevor Phillips Incorporated,
Good name.
and it's basically just a huge drug empire.
Yeah.
Um, and he has to eliminate all the competition. And so the reason he like burns down the McNeil's mansion or whatever is because they make like meth or something,
Yeah.
and so they're like a competitor. He does the same thing with like the Chinese triads,
Yep.
as well. With the cocaine, um, and the lost biker thing is the other people he has like rivalry
Oh,
with.
yep.
So, yeah, that's basically what the missions with Trevor right now are revolving around, or him taking out all of his competition.
But eventually, Wayne comes back saying that he has found a Michael DeSanta, and Trevor decides to go pay him a visit.
Yeah, and you get a nice long drive with Trevor and Wayne down to Los Santos.
just chatting
where
about Michael and everything that happened. And this is where Trevor tells you that he believes that Brad is in prison and Michael died. Like that's his perspective on everything, and that's why he's so furious right now, because he thought
right,
that Michael died and found out that Michael was lying to him, or he thinks so.
yeah. I mean, we've known that Michael's still alive, right, ever since
Yeah,
the funeral scene, but we didn't really know whether Brad was still alive or not.
yeah.
So, um,
Trevor just thinks he's in
like,
prison.
right, you still kind of really don't know like what to believe,
Yeah.
honestly. Um, until a little bit later. Um, but yeah, so Trevor busts into Michael's house in a pretty funny scene because, as usual, his family is all screaming at each other,
Yeah.
and they all instantly go completely silent when they see Trevor standing in their kitchen.
I mean, I would too.
Um,
I would.
yeah, I
I would.
love the line about Michael's wife's tits is pretty funny. Um, like nice new tits, by the way. Like really like
Yeah.
that. And
Trevor knows the position he's in when he walks into that house and sees Michael, and he's ready to have a conversation, kinda.
kind of, but they have to, it ends up getting derailed because they find out that Michael's daughter is going on the reality TV, which neither Michael or Trevor are a fan of,
Yeah.
and so they go to like basically screw up everything, and that's when you get like actual dialogue between the two of them.
Yeah.
Um, I like how he's like, "How have you been?" And he's like, "Oh, been around." And Trevor's like, "All right, can you cut the bullshit actually now and
Yeah.
like, like tell me what's been going on?" And interestingly enough, what I think is interesting is that Michael doesn't tell. Like, Michael's like, "Can't talk about it." Like, just can't
Like
talk about
wow.
it.
Like, are you serious? Like after all this, you can't say anything to me?
Yeah, and he's like, no, he's like, you actually like really shouldn't be here.
Which the player should be thinking like,
Yeah.
what really happened? Like, there's obviously like this big elephant in the room. There's something that we're missing, that Trevor's missing.
hmm Yeah, there's something that obviously happened that we're not aware of. It's kind of the central like mystery of the game
Yeah.
that continuously gets hinted at. Um is like, why do Trevor and Michael, I mean, you understand why Trevor hates Michael because he feels like he ditched him. Um but you'd also think he'd be like happy to be alive, that his like best friend is alive,
Yeah.
but neither of them like really want to, or even like thrilled that they are seeing each other again.
Yeah.
um so you're kind of like trying to figure that out. It's set up in a really like smart way.
Yeah. But they show up to this audition place. They stop his daughter from embarrassing herself and just beat the crap out of the dude hosting the
Oh
show.
my god,
They
yeah,
embarrass him.
that guy gets screwed up. It's not even the last time he gets screwed up either.
Yeah. And yeah, they just leave, taking her with them. She's obviously very upset, hysterical. It
Right.
doesn't really matter. And there you go. Michael and Trevor get to bond for a moment again, just like the old days.
Yeah, and I think after that Trevor leaves, and Michael makes a phone call to a guy named Dave Norton. He's
Ah,
like,
yes.
hey, we got a problem.
Guess who fucking showed up?
Yeah, and he's like, I know. He's like, you need to come meet me now. Like, they're both like freaking out. They're like, you need to come meet me now. And so yeah, Michael goes and meets this guy. Turns out he's a member of the FBI.
Yeah.
Um,
Called the
and
FIB in GTA to avoid any legal trouble.
yeah, of course. It's also funny because it makes the word fib.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no. So he goes and meets with this FBI guy, and this is where kind of like the truth of the matter is like more or less revealed to
Yeah.
to the player, which is that Michael basically cut a deal with the FBI where they would fake his death, Brad would die, Trevor gets to live, But nobody knows that Michael's alive, and in exchange, he doesn't. None of them go to jail.
Yeah.
Um,
And funny enough, Brad is buried in Michael's grave. It's actually true. The whole funeral, Brad
yeah,
was in the casket.
right.
Um,
Um,
yeah, and
but
Trevor
yeah,
was
so
not told
now,
any of this.
no, Trevor was not told any of it because obviously he would not take it very well.
Yeah.
Um, which you find out Michael is actually opposed to. Michael wanted to tell Trevor, but the FBI guys wouldn't let the deal go through if Trevor knew.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so now what I like is that now like the mystery doesn't last very long, but now there's the suspense of like when is Trevor gonna find this out, right?
Yeah.
Like you're kind of waiting for it the entire game. Like eventually he has to learn, right?
Yeah. And how he takes that information is up in the air.
Yeah. So, um, I forget what the next big like plot point is. I know you do like some bullshit for the FBI. You have to like take out like there's like a whole subplot where they have like a rivalry with like the with like another government agency.
Oh yeah,
And
isn't that Merryweather or something?
there's Merryweather, and then there's all. It's also just another a. It's like the internal affairs office or something that they just like hate, and it's like a big funding battle or something. It's like
Yeah.
really stupid, and like it's like you're not supposed to pay much attention to it. It's just like an excuse for the FBI to make you do crimes, which is funny.
Yeah.
Um.
I'm pretty sure next in the story it's like don't you meet like the head of the FIB? Like there's another dude.
Oh, Steve Haynes. Yeah.
How does he fit into all this? Cuz I like kind of remember him but not super well. I'm assuming he knows
Um.
about the deal that went down between Michael and
Between Michael and Dave. Yeah.
yeah.
Um. He is actually like, I think he's Dave's boss technically, and he is like not a fan of the deal, but he like acknowledges the fact that he has to honor it.
Yeah.
Um, but he is like kind of planning on eventually just taking Michael out of the picture entirely.
Yeah.
Um,
But
and probably just reneging on the deal and either killing him or putting him in prison.
I
Um,
think in their desperation to try to get Michael to keep everything down low and keep Trevor in the dark, they try to sweeten the deal a little bit by like giving him a movie deal of some kind or like getting him into Hollywood. I
oh
remember
yeah,
some of
what?
these Hollywood missions. They were kind of funny.
Yeah, they are pretty funny because that's like Michael's like dream, right? Is like he loves movies. Um, and so they put him in touch with whatever his name is there, Solomon Richards, I think.
Yeah. Oh my God,
And
Solomon.
yeah, you do a couple missions for him. Meanwhile, you also like steal a helicopter for the FBI, which Trevor then steals for himself. Somehow they get Trevor involved, and I think this is where like Trevor probably starts to figure stuff out because they're like, well, why is like Michael working with the FBI? You know?
Yeah.
But they also can't really avoid it because like Trevor is like in the city. Um, but I think the next big plot point is Trevor planning his own heist on the Merryweather boat.
Oh.
Now that he's in Los Santos, and he plans this heist to steal like some kind of something out of this
Oh, he
crate.
goes to like this science facility, right, owned by Merryweather to get like these chemicals for meth or something. Isn't that the
Um,
Merryweather heist? Right? Am I tripping? Or is that an
I think you're
online?
tripping. I think you're thinking of multiplayer. Um, the campaign one is the one where he infiltrates the harbor, and he's trying to find like find out what's on the ship because there's like a big shipping crate that has like a bunch of security. So he's
Yeah.
like, there must be something valuable in it. Um, so he plans the heist and he invites Michael and kind of Franklin, because Franklin is just like coming along because he's with Michael.
Yeah.
And And then I think after he steals it, Lester gets involved, and he's like, "Bro, this is like a nuclear warhead. Like you can't steal this. Like you actually like have to put this back, or like
Yeah.
we're all gonna go to prison for life." Um, and he gets like pissed off, but he also knows that like Lester's always right. So,
Yeah.
um, and this is like I think the big mission that starts driving the tension between um Michael and Michael and Trevor.
Um. Right. I don't remember what comes after this, to be honest with you. Aren't we like in end game? Like, doesn't the game end soon? Like, Franklin gets approached by those guys and has to decide to kill them. Is there something in between that we're missing?
Um, yeah, there's a lot of game between that. Um, you have the mission where there's a part where you have to meet the guy first. The guy's name is Devin, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And he's like this car collector, and he hires you to steal a bunch of cars and then doesn't pay you. Um, and that's like a big Trevor and Franklin thing where like those two characters have to interact with each other.
Yeah.
Um, and then uh there's the part where they go to pay Michael goes to pay Martin back, and he does a job with Trevor for Martin, and then they don't get paid. Well, technically they don't really deserve to get paid because Michael owes him money, but Trevor doesn't know that.
Yeah.
And so Trevor like kidnaps the dude's wife.
Oh yeah. That classic scene.
Yeah, that classic scene. Everybody's probably seen this scene. And so then they have to go way up north and hide out. Um, and then you do the heist on the bank up there. Um, for because you have to get funding for the FBI
Oh, and
again.
that's where you get those big suits of armor and the miniguns.
Right.
Yeah, it's a cool mission.
Um, and then this is where there's also like a big story point where like Michael and Trevor keep screaming and like they get into like this huge screaming match, right?
Yeah.
Um, and after this heist, they basically like stop talking to each other for a while. Um, and they only get together for two things, which is one of them is when Lamar gets kidnapped and Franklin gets them to help him get them back. Um, and then the other one is when they do the Union Depository, which is like the big score that they've all been waiting their entire lives to hit, basically.
Yeah.
Um, and then after that is when there's like there's a shit ton of missions in
And
between
there's
there that
side
we're like
missions in
glossing over
GTA as well,
because
but
they're like not super plot relevant. They're just like character development stuff, and they're very
yeah.
good.
It would take too
But
long to
if we
cover everything. But
right, exactly.
I'm pretty sure this is the point in the game where I think Trevor starts to wonder, well, if Michael's not buried, like let me go dig up the
Oh my
grave.
God, yeah, this is where he
Like,
goes to Canada,
yeah,
and Michael is like, "You're not gonna like what you find up there, like why
yeah,
don't you just come back and I'll tell you, like we'll just talk about it." At this point, it's obviously too late for that.
yeah, he's gone.
Um, yeah, so he gets to Canada, and of course he digs up Michael's grave, and of course what's there is
Brad's
Brad's
dead
corpse.
face.
Mm-hmm. And
Cat's out of the bag now.
yeah, Michael and Trevor actually have a shootout with each other,
Oh yeah,
and then Michael gets mistaken for Trevor by the Chinese triads, and he gets kidnapped. And then Franklin has to go save him, and this is the part where they cut contact with each other.
yeah,
Um, and they only interact with each other in those other two moments. Um, and then, so all that stuff happens, and then Franklin gets approached by uh, Steve Haynes and David Norton, and they're like, Trevor's got to go. Like, like this is just too much.
yeah,
Michael, we can work with him. Like, he's easy to control. Like he's reasonable. But like Trevor's like insane and like a psychopath.
Massive
and
liability to their whole cover
like you
up.
got to take him out. And Franklin's like, I'm not taking him out. And he's like, well, if you don't take him out, you're going to prison. And he's like, oh. Um, and then Devin, the car collector guy, shows up at his door and is like, you got to kill Michael. Like, like, guy's a liability. He's not loyal. He's gonna backstab us and ruin our whole operation.
Yeah.
Like you got to take him out. This is like literally 2 minutes after the FBI guys leave, and so Franklin is like sitting there panicking, and he's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want to kill either of them, but I feel like I have to make a choice. And this is where the game gives you three options. You can either kill Michael, kill Trevor, or you choose option C,
And if you
which
kill
is
Michael or Trevor, each one of those things has its own like different scene where you kill them and then the game just ends. Like that's the extent of those plot lines.
right. Yeah, exactly.
But C, you
Um,
get something very different. It's the Death Wish option.
yeah, yeah. Which I think Devin tells you, like, you must have a death wish if you're not gonna do this for me. Like,
Yeah.
you're basically signing your own death warrant.
But you
Um,
basically let Michael and Trevor know the situation and you plan on taking all of your enemies out. It's like an Aaron Yeager moment. If I cross the sea and kill my enemies there, will we finally be free? So you guys decide to take down Devin, to take down the FIB guys. Good luck.
yeah, and you take out basically everyone that you're enemies with at this point. Also, like, like
Yeah.
just get them all out of there. Um, which I do like. What I do like about this scene is that it shows how far Franklin has come as a character. Because the first thing he does when you choose option C is he calls Lester, which is exactly what Michael would do in this
That's what I
situation.
would do, yeah.
You know, he calls Lester, and Lester's like, "Oh, this is fucked." He's like, but Lester, of course, has an idea. And then the three of them get together, and they manage to be like, "Listen, this is the situation. We can all still hate each other, but like we got to take care of this."
Yeah.
Um, and so you take out everyone, like not just like Devin and Steve Haynes, but also like the leader of the Chinese triads that have been harassing Trevor the entire time. The Ballas, which is the gang that like has been harassing Lamar,
Yeah.
and Franklin the whole time from the ghetto. Uh, you take out. There's somebody else that you take out too. And then Steve Haynes himself, of course, for the
Yeah.
FBI. And then finally, you go to Devin's house and you put him in the trunk of his own car, and all three characters together push the car off of the side of the highway into the ocean.
As a beautiful sun sets in the horizon.
And I remember Trevor says like, well, what do we do now? Like, and
Yeah.
Michael's like, now we get on with our lives, probably continue to hate each other, and chill the fuck out.
Yep.
And they both walk away, and Trevor just kind of stands there like, all right.
Yeah. And that's a bow on GTA 5. Dude,
Yeah.
how did you feel after beating the campaign, dude? I was young and I remember just feeling like I had finished a crazy movie, like the kind of movie where you just have to sit there in silence for 15 minutes. Like that's how I
Oh
felt
yeah,
after beating the campaign.
I completely agree. Um, sorry. Uh, yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the campaign definitely feels like a trilogy of movies almost.
Yeah.
Um, and the characters' interactions with each other are all like super interesting. Um, they're all interesting characters in and of themselves.
The
They're
game makes you
fleshed out
care
really
about
well.
them, which is cool because they're all
Yeah,
like
no,
pretty absurd fictional characters, but they ground them all in realism and give you like empathy for them. Like it's easy to just make
yeah,
Trevor like an insane psycho character, but it shows you his soft, vulnerable side, shows you like that he cares about people at his core. He cared a lot about Brad. That's why he was so upset,
right. I like
etc.,
too that
etc.
I like that they're all realistic characters. Like they all have very real flaws, right?
Yeah.
Like none of them are perfect characters. They're almost like unlikable to an extent.
Oh yeah.
Like like Franklin is he's like the main protagonist, so like he's kind of the least developed at the start because he grows the most over the course of
Yeah.
the game, whereas Michael and Trevor are mostly the same characters at the end as they are at the beginning.
Yep.
Um but Franklin is like not a perfect character. Like he's kind of an asshole actually.
Yeah.
Um like as soon as he sees this opportunity to like get out and like hook up with Michael, like he basically leaves everyone from his life behind.
Yep.
Um which like
Which Lamar
several
lets him
people call
know.
him out for
Yeah.
several times. But like he has like he's almost like the same as Michael in that regard. He has like no loyalty, you know. But you find out later, obviously that's not true, but that's like kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
Um, like he's very self-centered. Um, Michael, of course, is just an asshole with terrible anger issues. Um, and who has no idea how to raise a family. Um, and
Trevor's a
Trevor is Trevor.
psychotic,
So
yeah,
yeah,
psychotic monster.
yeah. So but they're all like they're not like these like perfect like video game protagonists. Like they're very much uh like flawed individuals, which I think makes them more likable and makes them feel more like real people, you know?
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, that
Um
basically wraps up the story. After you beat the campaign, you can go around, do side quests, clean up whatever you want. You have a ton of money. Um, it basically just gives you an open-ended sandbox at the end of the game. But with
yeah, you can buy
GTA,
and run businesses.
yep. But what
Yeah.
GTA did really well was giving you post-campaign content. I'm sure most people might have got this game for online, but for someone like me who got GTA 5 and beat the campaign, Rockstar gave us a multiplayer option. I mean, this isn't a new concept. Call of Duty had done it for years. You get your campaign, you get your multiplayer. But the
Mhm.
GTA multiplayer gave you races that you could do. You could buy your own houses, buy cars, customize them, do missions, holding down like places using guns. Dude, the guns in GTA are actually really good.
There's
There's
a
a
lot of
shitload
them.
of them. Yeah, but that are all really customizable. Um,
Mhm.
and the community just exploded around online. Grind a bunch of money. They slowly added content, tons of different heists, so many. I remember when they first added heists, it was so hype, dude. You saw Lester walk
Oh
into the
yeah.
room, your fucking GTA online model standing there with him.
Oh yeah.
So cool. Splitting up the money between everyone on your team, deciding who gets the
Mhm.
biggest cut.
Oh my
You
God,
get
trying to
30, you
tell
get
people.
30.
Oh, bro, you got too much money already. You're like you got 200 hours in this game. I just started. Like you give yourself like 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Going for like the hard challenges, like the all in order challenge, or the challenge where you have to do them all without like do them all on hard mode.
Jeez, dude.
With the same four people. Um,
The heists can be
you know,
tough. They can be pretty tough. If one person dies, you have to like redo a whole segments. It's pretty tough.
yeah, they're not easy, but they're fun content. And they've added tons of them now. Um, Yeah, no, I really think the online was something special, especially back in the day. Um, you
Endless
know,
fun,
ev
dude.
every even like the races, of course. The races are a huge part of GTA Online. Um,
Grow some
the
weed.
individual, they even beyond the heist, there's so many like missions you can do,
Oh yeah.
like co-op missions.
Just
Um,
completely random stuff. World events too. Tons of world events that happen.
Yeah, now you have like the businesses where you can become like this, like in the motorcycle clubs where you can like grow and sell your own drugs and stuff like that. Um,
My favorite
yeah, I
part
mean,
of online was always just like exploring the map. Like I'd get on with my friends and we'd ride the train around, shoot people. I remember doing crazy bike stunts, getting like a boat and having like a bunch of people stand on the end of it as we bounced off rocks and stuff. Go to the casino and gamble.
oh yeah,
It just gave you a ton of
makes
opportunity.
yeah, there's so much stuff to do with your friends. And yeah, it makes me really excited for GTA 6.
Yeah.
Because 6 is obviously going to be going back to Vice City, and I cannot wait to see Vice City in GTA Online. I'm just going to be honest.
In the new modern graphics, some beautiful
Yeah,
cars.
yeah.
It should
Hopefully,
be
it doesn't
insane.
have all the pay to win stuff that GTA Online has kind of become known for in the latter half of its life.
Yeah.
Um, I think we do
Overprinting.
kind of have to mention that like, I made the joke at the beginning of the episode about the shark cards. But I mean, they are egregious.
Yeah, unless you're doing back-to-back heist, you are not going to be able to buy any of like the $30 million cool toys in the game without shilling some money or just grinding
Right.
back-to-back heists.
Yeah, and it's designed like that on purpose because it's designed with the intention of like making you buy a shark card essentially.
Yeah, I bought a
Um,
few in my day on the 360. That's how
oh,
I
I'm
got.
not innocent either. Don't you
Yeah.
worry. Um,
So
but yeah,
tempting.
it's really bad. It's a terrible business model. Um,
And
I
that's
don't
why
even mind the
modders came in.
concept of the shark cards in general, but
Yeah,
when
me
all the
too.
content revolves around people spending, $100 on shark cards or whatever just to actually enjoy it, like that's a problem.
But eventually it didn't even matter because there were so many people that hacked and modded GTA 5. Like to this day, you can just join random online lobbies and see hackers, people with like
Oh yeah,
infinite money, just crazy, crazy stuff.
yeah.
But I think
So
that's a. Oh, you
hopefully
go,
that
you go.
stuff gets ironed out. I was just gonna say,
Yeah,
for GTA 6, because
it has
otherwise, like
to.
I don't want to see the online devolve into like basically nonsense now, where it's not even really fun to play. You know?
Yeah, that happens with so many old games. The developers like just stop supporting it for some reason at a certain point. I mean, it happened with TF2, happens with old Call of Duties, obviously happened with GTA 5. Just sucks seeing these like classic games not get the love and attention after a while because the teams just get bored
Hmm.
of them. I think like they just want to
I think
stop.
GTA 5 has just been out for too long. It's kind of like
Yeah,
what the problem is. Um,
but that
and I
that
feel like it's just being milked by Rockstar for whatever they
yeah.
can still get out of it because they know people are like desperate for GTA 6.
But I do want to talk here about 5M because modern GTA is almost entirely 5M. Like you can hop on online, still find
Mhm.
random people, but it's mostly hackers and then people just nostalgia playing. Basically, the whole community moved over to 5M, which is modded GTA 5. People do roleplay on there. New content is added. A lot of
Mhm.
them like make the buildings a lot more usable, like buildings that used to have like no accessibility. Like there's like fleshed out houses that people create, all kinds of
Yep.
stuff, all kinds of stuff. It's a super
Mhm.
huge community, and I partook in it in a little bit. um, Me and Mike, Devin, our friend Tyler, I think even
Oh
Avery
yeah.
hopped in with us for a good while there.
Oh yeah, the whole gang was on that shit
Yeah,
for a couple weeks.
and it's just fun,
Um
just fun.
yeah, no, it is really fun. It's what's keeping GTA alive. Um
Oh, we
which
have a
Rockstar
guest
obviously knows
speaker.
cuz they bought it.
Wait, let's get our guest speaker, Devin, to give his thoughts on 5M here. Devin.
Sucky sucky on top.
That's crazy. I don't think
That's
you could
gang and
say that.
CMR. What do
Wait,
you
I
so
don't
mean?
will
I
people
don't think
get
you
that
can say that.
reference?
That was our crew. You're gonna disrespect our crew like that?
Well,
Yeah, Mike.
listen, we can't be throwing up the gang signs on the podcast, all right?
It's
We
not a
talked about
gang.
this.
It's a crew. There's no gangs. It's allowed.
Okay.
It's not allowed. It's
Okay, you
against
know
the
what? You're
rules.
right, actually. All right.
Yeah.
Can we get security to get this guy out of here?
All right, my bad. I'm heading out on
Um.
my own. You don't have to rough me. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. All
Yeah.
right, thank you.
So, Mike, any closing thoughts here before we give GTA 5 our final score?
Um, yeah, my final thoughts would be that I do really like GTA 5. I think everybody should play the story at least once because it is really like a tremendous story. Um,
Yeah.
and a lot of the games these days don't get stories with enough attention. Um, and this game did. It's one of the last, I think, big like AAA releases to have like a really good story. So,
Facts.
I think everybody should play it at least once. I think the online is definitely not as good as it was before it became like, how can we get the most money out of people? But luckily, that's what 5M is for. So,
Facts.
yeah, I just really like this game. It's a huge piece of my childhood, and
So many good
you know, I
memories.
have a lot of core memories playing it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, Mike, what would you give it on a scale of 1 to 100?
I would give GTA 5 out of 100. Um, I feel like I have to for GTA 5 campaign, I would give probably about like an 85. 80 or 85. Um, for the online, I'd probably give it about like a 70. Feel like that's
Um,
pretty fair.
I agree. I'm actually gonna mirror that. I'm gonna give campaign an 85 solid. I'm gonna give online a 70 because modern day it's not kept up with, but there's still enough content there. You could play solo or just get on a server with friends and have a decent time.
Yeah, it's not terrible. You know,
Yeah,
not by any means. It's certainly not the worst thing to spend your time playing.
yeah,
Um, you know, I just think like it's got a pretty decent amount of problems that like I don't think I can give it any higher than like a 70.
yeah. No, I agree with you there. Um,
So,
well, yeah, you ready to do our super secret
oh,
outro that never changes?
yeah, it never changes. It's the same and we rehearse it 10 times before every episode.
Let's let it
Are you
rip.
ready?
Yeah, 3, 2, 1. You forget a
Sucky sucky
thousand
on top.
things every day. Make sure this video is one of them. All right, guys.
All right, goodbye.